Hello, this is Crystal Racing here with the 2021 Italian Grand Prix report, and of course, Dan Ricciardo is your race winner. However, we have to talk about that collision between the two championship contenders, Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, who, of course, on lap 26, Lewis Hamilton was coming out of the pits. Max Verstappen had just come out just right behind him on the racetrack and going into the first chicane. Max Verstappen attempted to overtake Lewis Hamilton into the second part of the chicane, and of course Max Verstappen drove at a curb, lifted his car over the top of Hamilton's car, and both of them were stuck in a gravel trap with Max Verstappen's car trapping Hamilton's car underneath. I'm going to have to give both drivers 5 out of 10. Verstappen was... he lost the lead at the start of the race, but, you know, he was close behind and he was holding second place securely. Lewis Hamilton, on the other hand, was struggling in fourth place and getting stuck behind Lando Norris' McLaren. Now, of course, I know before the pit stops, Hamilton did overtake Norris, but the fact of the matter is Hamilton spent far too much time stuck behind the McLaren, and really, I have to say, you know, I have to give Hamilton 5 out of 10 for the fact that he arguably could have given more room to Verstappen, but then, of course, you know, he's not exactly entitled to just give the position loads of space, since, of course, he was the car in front, was Verstappen, who was having a better race up until his pit stop, where, of course, he had a slow, tardy pit stop, and then, of course, being very angry and frustrated when he saw Hamilton in front of him. I think he just blew his fuse and just was like, right, I've got to get back in front of you. This is not fair. What happened to me at the pit stop was not fair. And how on earth you're in front of me? That really has gone against what the hell we're trying to fight for here today. And I kind of, you know, I have to say it's more Verstappen's fault, but for me, for the, you know, because, you know, Hamilton arguably could have given a bit more space, but then is he really entitled to? I have to say no. So, but having said that, though, Hamilton should have been mindful of the fact that Verstappen would have tried to do something like that, and you've got to realise, considering Hamilton was in front of him on track position, that was a potential, I don't know, 3 points Hamilton could have gained on him if you take into consideration that Ricciardo, I think, was going to win anyway. Of course, now we're going to go on to the race result. Daniel Ricciardo, 10 out of 10 for me. Got in front of the start and pretty much controlled the race throughout. Very little to say. Although I have to say, though, his pace after the safety car was kind of average. I mean, I know he's struggled a lot this season, and it's a really good fillip for him for his boosting confidence that he out-qualified Norris and beat Norris in the race. But I have to say, though, Norris did look like he had better race pace than Ricciardo today. Lando Norris, 9.5 out of 10. His career best finish for the young Englishman. Oh yes, and how could I forget, this is McLaren's first victory since the 2012 Brazilian Grand Prix with Jenson Button. Congratulations, Team Woking. Lando Norris held up Lewis Hamilton pretty well for the first half of the race. And then, of course, you know, after the safety car went in, he was stuck behind Leclerc. Of course, he pulled off a brilliant, daring overtake onto the end, into Curva Grande, one of the fastest parts of the track. He did breach track limits, but frankly, though, it was just a brilliant move. And 9.5 out of 10 it is for young Lando. Third place, and my personal driver today, it's Valtteri Bottas, 9 out of 10. I think this is the first time I've ever given Bottas driver of the day, but of course the official F1 website gave it to Ricciardo. So there you go. I mean, fan popularity does go a fair way, doesn't it? But Valtteri Bottas did, you know, had some brilliant overtakes today. You know, I know in the past when he's been thrown into the pack because of a problem, he has struggled to overtake people, but today he did it very well. Okay, yes, I know Perez finished in front of him on the road, but the fact of the matter is, he really did put a lot of, he pulled off some very clean overtakes, kept, didn't get stuck behind anyone, in the safety, at the safety car. After the safety car, he was down in 6th place, but made his way up to 4th place, which became 3rd with Perez's 5-second time penalty. Well done. 4th place, Charles Leclerc, 9 out of 10. Another solid drive from the young Monegasque. The Ferrari simply lacked straight line speed today. And to get 4th place in a season where, Ferrari are just sort of decent but not great, is a very good result. But having said that, though, it has now officially been 2 years since the Ferrari last won a race. That was the 2019 Singapore Grand Prix with Sebastian Vettel, mind you, who Vettel is actually Ferrari's most recent race winner, for those wondering. Unfortunately, there is some bad news for Ferrari fans, though, is that not only have McLaren now won a race, but out in the time period, in the 2 years since Ferrari's last win, AlphaTauri and Alpine also won a race. And of course, Aston Martin, when they were, of course, racing point with Sergio Perez last year at last year's Italian Grand Prix. Not great if you think about it, but Ferrari. It seems to be, of course, Ferrari could have won at Monaco if it wasn't for Leclerc's crash, and it could have won at Silverstone if it wasn't for Leclerc's tyres running out at Silverstone. But, and unfortunately, this result means that McLaren do go straight back up into 3rd place. So, and I have to say, on today's result, McLaren deserved to be back in 3rd place. 5th place, Sergio Perez, 6 out of 10. Considering his teammate was right up there earlier on in the race and was, I know the Honda does not have the best straight line speed out there. This is fairly poor, to be honest. I have to say I expect a lot more from Perez, especially when you consider the fact that Bottas was able to pinch 3rd place. Now, I know obviously Perez couldn't quite go full gas because, of course, he had the 2 McLarens in front of him, but, if it really was that bloody quick, I would expect him to do more. And I have to say, though, because he went up the road, I don't know whether I'm being harsh on Perez, but it really does feel like he blew an opportunity today. I know it's a hard track Monza is a hard track to overtake on, but I really do feel like Perez is seriously struggling now, and it's not particularly impressive whatsoever. Like, I know some would say, well, if it's Albon or Gasly, they would not do better. That's probably true, but for driver Perez's experience, I expect a bit more than this, especially with his great race pace, which we have not actually seen a lot of this season, I have to say. 6th place, Carlos Sainz, 8 out of 10. Solid drive, not much else to say. 7th place, Lance Stroll, 9.5 out of 10. Great drive. He always does well here at Monza. He has always qualified in the top 10. And once again, Lance Stroll delivered yet another great drive in Italy. He loves this track. He should get married to this track. He should bend down on one knee and propose to Monza. He loves this place. Although I have to say, though, last year he could have won the race, having basically started on the front row of the grid due to, of course, Hamilton's penalty last year. But, of course, he made a terrible start, allowed Gasly and Sainz to go through, and yeah, he blew what was a very possible race win here last year. But this year, though, with the Aston Martin being a lot slower, he made the most of what he could with this year's car, and he did pretty much the maximum. And easily outpaced Sebastian Vettel. Easily. 8th place, it's Fernando Alonso, 9 out of 10. Of course, the Alpine has very bad straight line speed, so he himself did all he could. Not much to say, really. Alonso continues his strong form. 9th place, George Russell, scoring another 2 points for Williams. And I have to say this, Williams really do now deserve to finish P8 ahead of Alfa Romeo, who I will get on to much later. George Russell was down the pack earlier on, but of course he took advantage of the safety car, jumped in front of his teammate and Esteban Ocon to score, now top up his points total for the season to 15 points. And of course, Williams now have 22 points. They're 19 points ahead of Alfa Romeo. the fight for P8 is officially over. P10, it was Esteban Ocon, 8 out of 10. Average race, if I'm going to be honest, but once again, he took advantage of the mess in front of him and did a great job again. 11th place, Nicholas Latifi, 7.5 out of 10. Did well in the sprint qualifying. He actually was running very strongly until the safety car, where he was a bit unlucky, so I've got to give him 7.5 out of 10. And he's very much taken advantage of Williams' improvement in performance this season. 12th place, Sebastian Vettel, 5 out of 10. Harsh, I know, but his racecraft today, along with his race pace and pace in general, has been really poor. You know, got shoved off the road at the first lap, I know Esteban Ocon shoved him off the road going down into the second chicane. I have to say, Sebastian Vettel's car placement in terms of on-track position is really poor now. And of course he got whacked in behind by Mazepin. I know that the third incident was not his fault, but again, he just doesn't seem to be that good at fighting people wheel to wheel anymore. I'd have to say today's performance really was indicative of that. 13th place, Antonio Giovinazzi, 5 out of 10. He made a great start, jumped into 6th place ahead of Carlos Sainz, but then at the second chicane he cut the corner on the exit. Now, I know he was fairly unlucky to be tagged in behind by Carlos Sainz, but the fact of the matter is he cut the road. So technically, I mean, he should have arguably realised he was in the wrong and probably should have been a lot more careful not to shut the door like he did on Carlos Sainz. I know it happened all very quickly, but Giovinazzi arguably should have taken the inside line down to the next corner and allowed Carlos Sainz to go through. If he had done that, he probably would have come back. He probably would have dropped to 7th place. And, you know, considering what happened today, he could have finished 7th or 8th. He could have finished around where Stroll and Alonso finished. But because he got great, because of course he ran out of track in the second corner, cut the chicane, and got all greedy and didn't look in his mirrors and see Carlos Sainz was there. I think he's completely costed it any chance of a future in Formula 1 after this, because once again, Antonio Giovinazzi is quick in qualifying, but when it really counts in the race, he cannot do the job. He's always got a mistake in him. I can't do it. And the only reason why he finished ahead of Kubica is because, of course, Kubica was given a team order to let him through so that Giovinazzi could try and catch Vettel. But in the end, it was fruitless because his tyres were completely gone by then. Because, of course, he had to do the early pit stop with to change his front wing. And, of course, they changed tyres then. And, of course, well, okay, he did a second pit stop, but really, though, even with the safety car, there was no hope of him getting past, really, to fight for points. And, yeah, I mean, really, I don't even see Alfa Romeo even scoring another point. And as a Kimi Raikkonen fan, that is really sad. I mean, I have to say, it feels like it's one season too many for Kimi. And, of course, 14th place, Robert Kubica, 5 out of 10 in what could be his final ever Formula 1 race due to the fact he is standing in for Kimi Raikkonen. 5 out of 10. Yeah, pretty much, you know, running around the back, fighting with the horses. Nothing interesting to say whatsoever. He's just there, to be honest. I respect him very much for the fact how he fought back to get back into Formula 1 after that horrific accident in that rally crash 10 years ago, where, of course, he suffered permanent damage to his arm, where he can't fully bend his right arm back and forth properly, and his right hand is somewhat limited in terms of how many buttons it can press and how manoeuvrable it is. But, you know, I'm afraid to say Robert Kubica's Formula 1 story is probably over now. You know, best wishes to him. And, of course, he was also on the wrong end of his car breaking down on the final lap last month's 24 Hours in Le Mans in the LMP2 category, where P and his teammate Luis Delatras and Yi Fei looked like they were going to win the LMP2 category, only for their car to break down on the final lap whilst leading the race. Really sad, but motorsport, especially in Robert Kubica's case, is a tough, unforgiving business. 15th place, Mick Schumacher, 5 out of 10. Oh god, this horse team are a waste of time. Who cares? I'm not even going to bother. And then of course we get on to the retirees. Nikita Mazepin, 3 out of 10. Reject of the day. Spun his teammate around. Whacked into Vettel. Then he went off the road later on in the race when he was trying to drive around the bollards, when he overshot the chicane, he took one of the bollards out like an idiot. And then he broke down, and frankly, when his car stopped on the track, I thought, well, no! Oh, anyway, who cares, man? And, you know, in the case of Giovinazzi, it was a case of, you spin me right round, baby, right round on the first lap, but of course, you know. But as for Nikita Mazepin, it was just a case of the guy is just a. We all know why he's there, and I don't want to go on about him anymore. I hate talking about this kid. The two and then of course, yeah, of course, there's also I've already talked about Hamilton and Verstappen. And of course the two AlphaTauri boys. I mean, Giovinazzi was too busy spinning around like a fidget spinner. Mazepin was too busy trying to, you know, destroy Mick Schumacher, and the two AlphaTauri boys were too busy making memes on TikTok where it looked like Pierre Gasly was trying to play Pokemon by throwing Pokeballs out. You know, as if, like, you know, he's a Pokemon trainer and Yuki Tsunoda is his little Pokemon pet. Oh, but as it was, of course, Yuki Tsunoda could not start the race, so due to a brake issue, so he will not be scored for today's race. And Pierre Gasly also broke down earlier on with a mechanical failure. He was starting at the back anyway after, what was it, yesterday's shenanigans. I'm going to check what did he retire with just to make sure that what type of failure it was. And it was a suspension issue, and he retired after just 3 laps. So Pierre Gasly will also not be scored down for his performance today. It's not their fault what happened today. I mean, frankly, though, I think yesterday I gave Pierre Gasly 7 out of 10 in what was an unfortunate first lap collision, and of course I gave Yuki Tsunoda 4 out of 10 just because, I mean, 16th place. I mean, seriously, come on, man. So, if you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe to Crystal Racing, and I'll see you again next time.